that we might know you, and that we may glorify you with our lives. We ask this in Jesus' name. Amen. So I don't think we actually even got in much into chapter 1, did we? Yeah, we did. We got into the genealogy.
Yep, we stopped at
Yeah.
15,
Stop at where?
right before we hit verse 15.
Verse 15. Okay.
One.
Yeah, so we, the king of Egypt said, I'm at verse 15, to the Hebrew midwives, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah. I just like that name. Puah. That's, your mom looks at you and goes, we'll name it Puah. When you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, if you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, let her live. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. So they let the boys live. And the king of Egypt summoned the midwives and asked them, why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live? And the midwives answered Pharaoh, Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are all vigorous and give birth before the midwife arrives. You know, what lesson do you pull from there? Well, one is it's better to work hard and have a healthy body than it is to live in the lap of luxury. Right? That if you're Pharaoh's daughter, it says that they're weak and they're frail because they've been pampered all their lives. To not have been pampered all your life apparently makes you strong. And I think there's something to that, right? I'm not just taking a little detour here to gather my thoughts. I mean, there's something here. There's something in the idea of not having life made in the shade. I've had friends and have friends who are mega wealthy and have claimed to be followers of Yahweh, followers of God. But at the least little disturbance in their life, they ran away. And I found that when Jesus says it's harder for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle, I found that his words are true. But there's a deeper principle here that's coming out as Moses writes, that he's also talking about a condition that God's people are in. You and I are not meant to find home here. And the whole purpose of the Exodus, and why it was important to spend time last week on determining that Egypt represents the world, the Hebrew slaves represent God's people, the wilderness represents life, heading for the promised land, which for Moses was the land of Canaan that had been promised to Abraham. But for you and I, we've realized a bigger picture, which is it is the New Jerusalem. That's the real promised land that we're all wandering in the wilderness towards. And the reason for that is because that is home, and this is not. So many times in counseling with people, I find it oftentimes the core root of what's going on with them is that they're trying to rebuild Eden in their own lives, and they can't. They're trying to make Eden happen again. They want paradise. Every single one of us wants it. We were born there. That's home. Paradise. We were all born there, and that's where we all who believe in Christ will end up, is in paradise with him. But I got to tell you something. I want it now. And because I get confused that I can't have it now, I'll turn to all sorts of things in my life to make me feel like I have it. And that's what I'm after. I'm after that place where the angel guards it with a sword tightly that I cannot return to. Because God said, I will never be able to go back to that paradise. Why? Because he has a better one in store. And we read about that in Revelation 22. It begins in a garden and it begins again in a garden. And the whole point of the Exodus is to teach us that God's people are not treated well by this world. And that's what what Paul would say, we're in this world but not of this world. Now, we're modern day people, and I certainly don't consider myself a fool. Relatively intelligent man. I have a master's degree. I somehow made it. Stop. No, I'm talking to John. And yet it baffles me that it's so unseen of what we're here for. We keep thinking we're here for the earth. We keep thinking we're here for 60, 70, 80 years, 90 years. And that's all we get. And so in that time period, in that exodus, we have to cram everything we possibly can into it. Or we miss out. You know what that's called, right? FOMO. The fear of missing out. And we live our lives with that fear looming over our head that we're going to miss out on something, so we better cram it all into something. What are we going to miss out on? I guarantee you at the root of it is we think we're going to miss out on Eden. Well, my friends, Eden is not coming back. Something better is coming, but Eden is not coming back. And so every attempt that we make to rebuild Eden in our own hearts or in our own minds or in our own lives, those attempts will be frustrated. Why will they be frustrated? Because we're God's people. And God's people weren't meant to live here. Now, there's no spaceship out behind Jupiter. There's no, if you ever hear me tell you there's a planned date, I'm not telling you the truth. I don't know. But I am telling you it's going to happen. Where God is going to come back and take us. And he will bring all of our loved ones who have passed on before us with him. And he's going to take them too. And we will all be together on a new heaven and a new earth in a new relationship with Christ. And that's in the background of the Exodus. And the first lesson is that it's not easy for God's people to live where they're not at home. Verse 20. So as God was kind to the midwives, and the people increased and became even more numerous. But because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all the people. Every Hebrew boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. So, what do you notice different here? Yeah, go ahead, John. I take it as true. Says directly that they answered Pharaoh, so I don't know why it would be anything but true. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, because I think the significant difference I want you to see is in verse 17. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do, verse 16. When you're helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on delivery stool, so the delivery stool would be, just what we call a stool. And if you see the baby as a boy, which gives you a picture of the positioning, kill him. Right there on the spot. It's emphatic. But something changed here. Yeah, Doug.
Difference I noticed is the first time Pharaoh said that he talked to two people. The other one,
Yeah.
back way in the bottom, he's talking to everybody.
Right.
So to me, that's a pretty big difference.
Yep. Right. Good. Good pickup. Yeah. Yeah. Right. That's good. Good pickup. Yeah. What else? Right. Yep. By whom? Yeah. Because of and their faithfulness says. So as we are faithful to God, He is with us. What's going on, Sally? You got that student grin. I can't see. Oh. Is it worth? Is it a wicked joke? Oh. Oh, we kind of showed the birthing stool. Gotcha. Why am I making an issue of the birthing stool? I mean, these were all good pickups that you had. They're all right. Why am I making an issue of the birthing stool? Because it changes. What happens? You're at the birthing stool and you kill it. Whether you poop or pop or whoever. Here's what you do. Then he tells everybody, I don't care what you do. But this time the method of death has changed, right? So we get from slam it on the ground, cut its head off, strangle it, do whatever you got to do to kill it, to drown it. Put it in the water and drown it. What's up with that? Well, let's keep reading. Chapter 2. Now a man of the tribe of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son. And when she saw that he was a fine child, and I don't know why they go into all that with how handsome he was. I mean, it's kind of weird. She hid him for 3 months. But when she could not hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the banks of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what was happening to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and as her attendants were walking along the riverbank, she saw the basket among the reeds and sent her female slave to get it. So here we have Moses' mother, who is really enamored with the looks of her son, and puts him in a basket and takes him where? To the water. Which, if Pharaoh gave an order for the Hebrew children to go to the water to be killed, then it would not have been unusual at all to see a woman going down to the river with a baby to possibly kill it. And so all suspicion would have been taken off of that baby, and God's foreordained plan of choosing Moses as the leader of Israel was happening. And it tells us that God has a long-term plan, even in short-term circumstances, for each of us. That no matter what we're going through, no matter what it seems like, that God is working in the details of our lives to bring his long-term plan out of our short-term circumstances to pass. Even when Moses was a baby, God had already laid his hand on him to be the deliverer of Israel. It's really pretty astonishing when you stop and think about it. So here we have God's people living in a land that is not their own, going to go through the wilderness, which is the earth, just life, to be delivered into a promised land. And we see the bigger picture of us, God's people, delivered by the true deliverer, the one who Moses foreshadows, Christ, who leads us through our wilderness, which is our life, delivering us from the world of sin, the system of the world, into the system of God through the wilderness to deliver the promised land into our hands, the new heavens and the new earth. Does that make sense? And that's what I was trying to say last week. If you and I can remember that there's an immediate story and a larger picture story. There's an immediate narrative and then a larger narrative, a meta-narrative of the story that Exodus tells. It will begin to really make a lot of sense why it's in the Bible. And you'll see Christ there instead of just a book that we read in the Bible. Its purpose is any thoughts or questions, or maybe you've never seen that before? Yes, no? Everybody looks at the floor. It's new to you? Yeah. Any other thoughts or question marks?
How long did this decree, Pharaoh's decree, go on? Of killing the male boys?
I don't know. I don't know that it tells us the answer to that.
I mean, they drew in numbers.
He dies somewhere here shortly, so I would think up into his death. They don't really address that before he died. He said, "Stop it." But he dies, and Moses deals with his son. So I would just assume it would have faded away with his death. I don't know. The son will the son of Pharaoh will certainly experience this again in the Passover, but God will be doing it this time.
Say that this is the curse that's put on the Egyptians,
Right,
killing the firstborn
right,
child.
right. So verse 7 of chapter 2. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?" "Yes, go," she answered. So the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you." So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, "I have drawn him out of the water." Interestingly enough, later on in the scriptures we hear the prophecies talking about Jesus, referring to Jesus, how the Lord drew him out of the water. And then the story goes on about how he kills an Egyptian. He grows as the prince of Egypt and kills an Egyptian soldier for abusing a Hebrew slave. And so we skip down to verse 15. When Pharaoh heard this, he tried to kill Moses, but Moses fled Pharaoh and went to live in Midian, which was a desert there, and where he sat down by the well. Now a priest of Midian had 7 daughters that came to draw water and fill the troughs of their water of their father's flock. So some shepherds came along and drove them away, but Moses got up and came to the rescue and rescued their flocks. Then the girls returned to Reuel, their father, and asked him, "Why have you returned so early today?" They answered, "An Egyptian rescued us from the shepherds. He even drew water for us and watered the flock." "And where is he?" Reuel asked. Why did you leave him? Invite him to have something to eat." Moses guaranteed to stay with the man who gave up his daughter Zipporah for Moses in marriage. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses named him Gershom, saying, "I have become a foreigner in a foreign land." During the long period, the Egyptians died. The king of Egypt died. Here we go. And the Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out and cried for help because of their slavery. Because of the cries of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning and remembered his covenant with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. So God looked at Israelites and was concerned about them. What do you get from that?
Brad, I just had one question. When in verse 10 it says, "When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son." But then it says in 15, when Pharaoh heard of this, he tried to kill Moses. Did he know that that was his grandson at the time? I mean, did he realize that his daughter raised him?
I would think so. You know, it's times are different. us mommy and daddies, we put up with an awful lot now that would have never been put up with then. You were belligerent. You were dead. I mean, it wasn't like, oh, Papa's mad. He'll get over it. I'll go to my room for 15 minutes and he'll calm down. No, it was more like, Papa's mad. I hope he doesn't take me out back where there's rocks. That was a lot bigger concern than a belt. And so for a pharaoh, for a king to say, do away with its life, would meant nothing more to him than take the cat outside and throw it away. There was very little value put on life, one. Even lesser value put on a slave's life, two. And there was an overabundance of girls there, so boys were bad news, 3. Because only boys would take the throne of Pharaoh, bad news, 5. So if you're born a boy in this day, Pharaoh could kill you, he didn't care. That would have been normal. How many of you travel the globe a little bit? Yeah, Jill? What have you noticed? Yeah? What about you, Jill?
It's very different everywhere.
I mean, both of you said the same word, different. How is it different?
Different cultures.
Yeah, and how do they express themselves? Just think of a difference.
Yes, depends on where you are.
Japan. You've been to Japan?
Haven't been to Japan yet, but
China?
I know it's
Any of the Asian cultures?
quiet, it's reserved.
Yeah. They don't paint their bodies with big G's.
No,
No?
not, they don't,
No.
they're not like into the green and gold. I don't.
No. What'd you notice, Jill? Unique?
There's a high level of hospitality.
Huh?
There's a high level of hospitality.
High level of hospitality? Is it a different type of hospitality?
It maybe felt a little different.
Well, let me give you an example. Like someone just made us a loaf of bread. Ah, it was good. And I told him that. I said, "Oh, it was so good. Such a great loaf of bread." Some cultures would have been, "That was good," and they would have burped in that person's face. We would find that rude. We would find that unacceptable. But at the same time, in another culture, that's exactly what's expected. Clapping. In our culture, clapping is a sense of applause, a sense of affirmation that was a good performance. Clapping in other countries is a boo. The more they clap, you think they're thinking you're wonderful. Fact of the matter is they think you're awful. All based upon culture. We're talking about a different culture here. When we read about the ancient Near East, they have all sorts of different mores, different morals, different ways of expressing their culture that have nothing to... This is not a Western book. It wasn't written by Western authors. 64.5 of these books were written by Orthodox Jews from the Far East, or the Middle East. And it has very little to do with being an American. So to really understand what's going on, you kind of have to take your Western hat off and put on your Middle Eastern hat and understand the context and the current audience of the scripture so that you can understand what's being said. And part of what is being said here is what? It's repeated 3 times in the first 2 chapters. The theme is foreigners in a foreign land. You're not of this world. You're God's people, and there's not God's people. It just is like these geese that fly over and honk all day long. It's the Bible crying out to your heart and mine, saying, listen up, you don't belong to the world. Quit living as though you belong to the world and live as though you belong to God. Quit having expectations from the world to give you what you want and turn to God to give you what you need. Be willing to spend your time studying what God has for you that you need instead of studying the world and what it has that you don't really want. Because you're never going to find from the world what it is that you really want. Because only Yahweh has what you really need. That's what these chapters are about. It's about God extracting you, pulling you out of the grips of death and out of the grips of decay and delivering you and I into life and life abundant. So there are your first 2 chapters. Tell BJ I caught up. Any thoughts? Any questions? Any additions, criticisms? Yeah.
A lot of people today, 2025, think the world is so bad.
Yeah.
We have no idea what the world used to be like, do we?
No. We really
It
don't.
isn't so bad, right? Than what we've been
No.
right now.
We are an incredibly spoiled group of people. And the realization that probably happened in the 60s. Somewhere along the line, somebody should have told us in the 60s, you're a bunch of spoiled brats. Because we were. And it just got worse from there. What else? Eric, you can never tell if you're about to say something or not. That wrist, it just bothers me. So,
Moses must have,
I knew it. I knew you had something to say.
so Pharaoh knew Moses was Hebrew.
Yeah.
Like, when Moses went to the Hebrews, they said he was an Egyptian.
Yep.
Or I shouldn't say Hebrews, he went to the foreign land.
Yeah, I know what you meant.
So it must have been how he was dressed, how he was.
Makeup. You probably had eyeliner on. Probably looked a lot like Charlton Heston. Yeah, it doesn't say. It's just written. It's just assumed. See, that's the thing about the Bible. When you're reading the Bible, we want all these details. And the Bible wasn't written for you and I to know precision. It was written for us to know the truth. And a lot of precision is left out. So if you're just scrounging the pages, I got to have precision, you're not going to find it. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just got to take it for what it says. I don't know. I'm just thinking the makeup and dress. What comes into my mind. Everybody understand that question? How did Moses' daughters recognize that Moses was, not Moses' daughter, Pharaoh's, no, Jethro's daughters recognized that Moses was an Egyptian when he was really a Hebrew. Is that right? Yeah. And the answer is, I don't know. Just one of those things. Yeah.
Another thing just occurred to me, how horrifying it is to think of killing those babies, throwing them in the river. And, one thing is, God probably felt horrible too about that, and sin in the world. But I also think of, what goes on with abortions in our country, and it's horrifying, but it's so easy to ignore. When we read it in the Bible, that it's just a natural reaction to think that's terrible.
It's no different than what we do today. With that being said, how has God changed? He doesn't. So the promises and the message that God is getting through to the people of the Exodus tells you it's the same message that he's trying to get through to you and me. The message hasn't changed, right? And the message is what? You're not of this world. You're in it. Everybody else on the face of this earth. And you're going home. And you're on your way home. This is not home. No, there's not a spaceship behind Jupiter, but there is a saving, salvific king behind the veil of visibility about to break through and rescue you and I from our sin and our death, to deliver us into paradise. And we live for him. I saw John out in the driveway the other day that passed by. I was going to blow the horn, but he was talking to somebody. I thought it'd be kind of rude. I just think I was trying to pick him up or something. He was talking to one of his neighbors. And I thought, I'd just swing in there, pick up John. Forgot where I was going with that. Jesus shows up. You've been driving by for eternity, day after day for eternity, and now all of a sudden you want to make yourself known? What are you doing here? And his answer is, I'm here for you. And I left you Exodus to tell you, I'm coming. I have a plan. You're mine, and I'm here for you because I want to deliver you.